They thought humanity was extinct. They thought our ruins were silent. But the moment the alien warlords stepped into our last bunker, it woke up. And now they're about to learn the truth every conqueror fears. Humans don't die quietly. We evolve.
Humanity had been mocked before, but never like this. Never by the Centaur Dominion, the oldest and most arrogant species in the known galaxy. The moment their ambassador stepped onto the Galactic Council floor, the air grew cold. His 4 shimmering eyes scanned the chamber as if searching for a pest infestation. And then he said it, calmly, publicly, and with absolute contempt. Humanity is a cosmic mistake, reckless, primitive, and irrelevant. The chamber erupted. Some species gasped, others laughed. A few nodded in agreement. But the humans? They stayed silent, not out of fear, out of calculation. Among them stood Commander Jax Rain, the last surviving veteran of the Orion Rift battle, a soldier whose name was still whispered with respect. He didn't flinch. He didn't argue. He simply watched the Centaur ambassador with the stillness of a loaded weapon. The ambassador continued, pacing slowly, letting every word sting. Humanity's strength is illusion. Their courage is recklessness. Their victories, accidents. Every alien eye turned toward the humans, waiting for them to explode. But instead, Jax Rain stepped forward, slowly, deliberately. His voice was low, steady, controlled. "Ambassador, you mistake restraint for weakness." A hush filled the hall. Jax's words carried weight because he wasn't just a soldier. He was the man who once held a collapsing front line for 7 hours alone, the man who opened evacuation corridors for species who now sat quietly, pretending not to recognize him. Before Jax could continue, alarms blared across the council chamber. A hologram flashed in the center of the room. Incoming threat, unknown entity, power level, unmeasurable. The lights dimmed, the air vibrated. Outside the council's crystalline dome, space warped, bending like liquid under an enormous gravitational force. A massive silhouette appeared. No engine signature, no identifiable technology, no known biology. Something new, something ancient, something angry. The Centaur ambassador's confidence cracked. Even he stepped back. But Jax didn't move. His hand tightened into a fist, not in fear, but recognition. He knew this enemy. He had seen traces of them once before, at the edge of the Orion Rift, a threat even he had hoped never to face again. And now they had come to the heart of the galaxy. And the galaxy would soon learn what humanity really was.
The council chamber shook, not from weapons, but from something far more terrifying. The very fabric of space outside the dome quivered, peeling apart like glass under pressure. A deep, resonant hum rolled through the air, vibrating bones and metal alike. Delegates staggered, lights flickered. And then, with a sound like reality tearing, the sky broke. A colossal obsidian structure emerged from the crack. Not a ship, not a creature. Something in between, alive but engineered. Its surface pulsed with veins of red energy, each beat echoing like a distant heartbeat. The Centaur ambassador, moments ago dripping with arrogance, stumbled backward. What is that?" he stammered. Jax Rain didn't answer immediately. He stared at the structure, the same shape, the same energy signature he remembered from the Orion Rift battlefield, a structure that had wiped out an entire human battalion in seconds, a structure he barely survived. "They call themselves," he said quietly, "the Nullborne." Delegates froze. The Nullborne were a myth, whispers shared by dying soldiers, rumors dismissed as battlefield hallucinations, a species older than records, beings that consumed star systems not for conquest, but for correction, as if erasing mistakes in the universe. The crack widened. 4 more Nullborne constructs drifted out, moving in dead silence. Their presence alone distorted gravity. Council platforms bent. Translation screens flickered with static. Species adapted to vacuum gasped for air. The Centaur ambassador found his voice again. Human defenses. Activate the planetary shield. There is no shield strong enough, someone shouted. Panic erupted. Chairs overturned. Guards activated cloaking barriers that flickered and died instantly from the Nullborne gravity field. And through it all, Jack's reign stood unmoving. It wasn't bravery. It was clarity. Because he realized something the others didn't. The Nullborne weren't attacking. Not yet. They were scanning, evaluating every species present, just as the Centaur had done to humans minutes earlier. Then, the Nullborne changed direction. Every single construct, hundreds of meters tall, slowly rotated toward the console dome, toward Jack's. And then, a deep, ancient voice vibrated through every mind in the chamber. The species called human, step forward. Fear swept the delegates. Even the Centaur stepped aside.
The warning came too late. The Nullborne flagship, silent for hours, suddenly pulsed with a violent surge of violet energy. Space around it warped, bending like liquid glass. Alarms screamed across the council chamber. Defense shields flared to maximum. Soldiers scrambled to formation. Jax felt the vibration through the floor before he heard the sound, a deep, bone-shaking thrum, like the galaxy inhaling. Then the sky split. A rift tore open above the Citadel, stretching from horizon to horizon, a jagged wound in reality. From it poured Nullborne drones, sleek obsidian constructs with razor-edge wings and pulsing cores of void light. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands. The skies turned into a storm of shadows. Council guards fired instantly. Plasma bolts streaked through the air, turning the sky into a lattice of neon trails. Explosions bloomed like electric flowers. The Citadel's defense batteries roared to life, sending shockwaves through the atmosphere. But for every drone destroyed, 5 more emerged from the rift. They weren't attacking a planet. They were testing the galaxy. Ambassador Threx shouted over the comms. "They're targeting the core spire! Protect the civilians! Move!" Jax didn't hesitate. While the alien guards fired volley after volley, he sprinted through the chaos, weaving between collapsing structures and burning airships. Above him, drones strafed the ground with slicing beams that carved molten lines through metal walkways. The Citadel trembled under the assault. A drone descended directly in his path. Its void core flickered, charging a kill shot. Jax grabbed a fallen soldier's pulse rifle, slid under the drone, and fired upward into its weak point. It exploded in a burst of dark violet shards, raining black sparks around him. But then he saw something worse. The Nullborne weren't just attacking, they were descending. A massive humanoid silhouette began emerging from the rift, towering, armored, its body made of crystalline obsidian and shifting void energy. Every step it took shook the ground. The air around it bent and cracked with gravitational distortion. Council soldiers froze. Ambassador Threx whispered, terrified, "That's a Nullborne executor. Entire worlds had fallen to just one of them." Jax tightened the grip on the rifle. His heart thundered. His breath steadied. And for the first time since arriving at the Citadel, he felt alive. Then let's make sure this one learns what humans do when the sky tries to kill us.
The Nullborne executor landed with a seismic crash that rippled through the Citadel like an earthquake. Structure shook, glass shattered. Airships veered off course as gravity warped around the creature's massive frame. Its armor glowed with shifting violet fractures, every movement radiating raw, destructive energy. Jax didn't wait for orders. He sprinted straight toward the danger. Council soldiers fired everything they had: plasma cannons, rail clusters, gravitational disruptors. The blasts hammered the executor's armor, lighting it up like a supernova, but the behemoth barely slowed. With a single sweeping gesture, it unleashed a shockwave that hurled heavy assault units across the battlefield like dolls. Jax ducked behind a fallen barricade, adrenaline cutting through fear. The executor turned its glowing gaze on him. "Congratulations, your species earned our attention. Now let us see your value." Jax didn't bother replying. He lunged left as a beam of collapsing energy tore the ground open where he'd been standing. The beam sliced across the battlefield, vaporizing a transport skiff in an explosion of white-hot debris. He grabbed a plasma spear from a fallen guard and ran straight up the side of a tilted support beam. The executor swung again. Jax launched himself off the beam and slammed the spear into the giant's shoulder joint. A burst of molten violet energy erupted. The executor staggered. For the first time, it reacted.
Jax crashed onto the ground, rolled, and sprinted without breaking momentum. Drones swarmed. He fired in tight bursts. 3 shots, 3 kills, moving with the ruthless efficiency of a man who'd survived real wars. Ambassador Threx watched in disbelief. He had seen elite warriors from 100 worlds. None moved like this. None adapted as quickly. None took risks this insane, yet precise. Jax vaulted onto a stabilizer tower, climbed to the top, and used the height to launch himself directly onto the Executor's forearm. The monster tried to shake him off, but Jax dug in the spear, tearing open glowing cracks down the limb. "Your resilience is anomalous," the Executor growled. "Welcome to humanity," Jax shot back. He jammed a detonator charge into the exposed crack and leapt off. The explosion ripped through half the Executor's arm, sending an arc of burning void energy spiraling into the sky. The giant staggered again, howling with distorted fury. For the first time in Nullborne history, an Executor had been wounded by a single soldier. And every drone in the sky turned its focus on Jax.
The Nullborne drones descended in a synchronized swarm, thousands of black blades slicing through the bright sky, converging on the one target that now terrified them the most: Jax Rain. He sprinted across the fractured courtyard, leaping over molten debris and dodging void lances that carved smoking trenches behind him. The Executor roared, its damaged arm dripping violet energy, but it wasn't weakened enough to fall. Its remaining hand slammed into the ground, creating a gravitational ripple that twisted metal into spirals. Jax stumbled, but kept running. A drone swooped in low, claws extended. Jax slid beneath it, kicked upward and shattered its core with a brutal heel strike. It exploded into shards as 3 more dove at him. He rolled, grabbed a fallen shock baton, and whipped it through the air, impaling one drone and stunning the next 2 in a burst of blinding blue electricity. But the Nullborne were adapting. They changed formation, encircling him from all sides, a perfect kill ring. "Human," the Executor thundered. "You display traits outside projected limits. Explain." Jax grinned despite the chaos. "Maybe your projections suck." The Executor raised its massive remaining arm. All drones aimed their cores at Jax. A single unified pulse began charging, a planet-cracking strike condensed into seconds. Ambassador Threx screamed from the shattered tower, "Jax, move!" But Jax stood his ground. Not because he wanted to die, because something inside him ignited. A heat, a pressure, a surge of impossible strength pulsing through his veins, something that had awakened in the Orion Rift but had never fully surfaced. The Nullborne Rift energy wasn't just attacking him, it was reacting to him. Jax clenched his fists as the drones fired. And then it happened. A shockwave burst outward from Jax's body, pure, blinding white energy. Drones shredded instantly. Their cores imploded, their bodies disintegrating into metallic dust. The blast hit the Executor so hard it skidded back, carving a deep trench across the courtyard. Jax collapsed to one knee, stunned, breathing hard. What did I just do?" The Executor recoiled, analyzing him with new fear. "Impossible," it hissed. "A human cannot generate rift resonance." But Jax had, and the galaxy had just learned something terrifying. Humans weren't evolving. They were awakening.
The shockwave faded, leaving a perfect circular crater around Jax. Not a speck of dust dared fall on him. The entire battlefield went silent. Council soldiers staring, drones hesitating, even the Executor frozen mid-step. Jax rose slowly. His eyes glowed faintly white. Not human, not Nullborne, something else. The Executor recovered first. "Human, what have you become?" Jax didn't know, but the energy humming inside him, the rift resonance, felt alive, as if reacting to danger, instinctive and primal. The drones analyzed him again, recalibrating. Their wings shifted angle, their cores brightened. They were terrified, and terrified machines get dangerous. The Executor slammed its foot down, splitting the courtyard and unleashing a gravitational vortex. Chunks of metal and debris spiraled toward its core, forming a massive energy scythe in its hand. It charged. Jax sprinted straight toward it. The world blurred around him, faster, sharper, every detail glowing with impossible clarity. He jumped, landing on the Executor's knee joint, sprinted up its thigh, and drove his fist, glowing white, into the creature's chest. The explosion blasted them apart. Jax tumbled across the courtyard, skidding to a stop. The executor staggered backward, its chest cracked open, void energy leaking out like liquid fire. Council soldiers stared in awe. Ambassador Threx whispered into his comm, That wasn't a weapon. That was him." Drones swarmed again, but Jax moved faster than before, dodging beams, smashing cores, ripping one drone apart, and using its wing to slice another in half. He wasn't fighting like a soldier anymore. He was fighting like a force of nature. But power has a cost. His vision blurred, his muscles trembled, blood dripped from his nose. "Not now," he growled, forcing himself upright. The executor pointed at him. "You wield rift resonance, yet you are unstable, a paradox, a threat." Its core expanded, charging a final annihilation beam. Jax steadied himself, planting his feet. "If you think I'm unstable," he said through gritted teeth, "you should see humanity when we're angry." The executor fired. Jax roared, and the energy inside him ignited brighter than ever.
The executor's annihilation being tore across the battlefield, a continent-cracking blast of concentrated void energy. The air screamed, the ground melted, buildings collapsed under the sheer force, and Jax ran straight into it. The rift resonance inside him surged, painful, burning, overwhelming, but he held the energy back with sheer will. Every muscle trembled, every bone felt like it was fracturing, but he kept going. The beam pressed him into the ground, carving a trench behind his heels. His boots disintegrated, his armor peeled away, his skin blistered. Still, he pushed forward. "How?" the executor roared. "Do you defy oblivion?" Jax's voice was a growl of pure fury. "Because I'm human." He leapt through the beam, his body glowing like a star, and slammed both fists into the executor's core. The world exploded. A blinding white dome expanded outward, clean, bright, silent. Drones evaporated instantly. The rift in the sky collapsed in on itself. The executor's armor shattered, its body dissolving into a cascade of violet crystals. When the light faded, the battlefield was still. Council soldiers peeked from behind fallen structures. The Centaur ambassador crawled out from under a shattered podium, trembling. Smoke drifted through the ruined citadel. In the center of a steaming crater stood Jax Rain, barely standing, barely conscious, but alive. He looked up at the council. "That," he rasped, "was humanity's answer." The Centaur ambassador stared at him. No arrogance left, only fear. "You defeated a Nullborne executor. Alone." Jax wiped blood from his face. "Not alone. I had 8 billion reasons behind me." Silence. Then Ambassador Threx stepped forward, voice steady. "Today, the galaxy saw a truth we ignored. Humanity is not a mistake. Humanity is a miracle." The council bowed their heads. For the first time in galactic history, they bowed to a human. And above them, far beyond the clouds, stars shimmered brighter, as if the universe itself had taken notice. Humanity had awakened, and nothing in the galaxy would ever be the same.